what I don't have. He said, assessment should include the journey of what we want the children to become.
Love it.
And he said, I want to join the Sapphire team.
Okay, so I took out my piece of paper and I thought, okay, let me judge this properly, and I was like, yeah. So everything was beautiful, everything from your criteria was there. I saw teamwork, I saw animated delivery, I saw creativity. No one just did a boring list, checklist, symbols, things like that, and the content was totally so everyone. And this is such a great way for me to segue into what I want to talk about. Oh, I need to use this. I was like, no problem. Now make me feel as if I'm preaching. But it's not loud. Is this for people online?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So it's a great way for me to segue into what I want to talk about. Now I didn't come here to say, oh, you know nothing about assessments and I need to teach you. That's not the goal. The goal is hopefully to be able to share a fresh perspective on formative assessments and how we use formative assessments. Okay, everybody knows this guy? Ken Blanchard, one of the, I call him one of the biggest theorists and education philosophers of our time, because he's made such profound statements and he goes counter the norm. He keeps talking about, you know, he says school is killing creativity.
Yeah.
School is killing creativity. On his TED Talk, he talks about great TED Talk. Great TED Talk. And one of the things he says is, for us, for you and I, education, feedback is our breakfast. If we don't give authentic feedback to our students, if we don't get them to understand how to give and receive feedback, they may not attain to their championship levels. Yeah? Oh, next slide. So, questions I'd like us to bear in mind as we have conversations. What do we do with all the assessment data we collect in schools? Because we collect a lot of data. Spelling test, mental health test, writing test, like every week. There's a test. And the data queen herself.
Yes.
So
she just wants to know.
What is the data telling us? And what is the data not telling us? For example, I remember when we used to work together a couple of years ago, and the nurse came in and said to us, oh, there's a problem with the number of children that come to her after lunch break. That there has been an exponential increase in that. And she had observed it over almost 3 weeks. They just kept coming. And headaches. Was hot. So what were we supposed to do? So she just brought that to our attention because she had that data. And what did we now do with the data? We had to use it formatively, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were the senior leadership team at the time, what would you do? The nurse comes to you, the number of children, Wednesday, like 6, Thursday, another 7, Friday, 10, just 2, and normally it's 1 or 2. But you're having 5, 6 every day. What would you do? Feedback. If you're online, you can answer the question as well. What would you do if the nurse came to you with that amount of information, data? What would you do? Ideas, it's not right or wrong, right? I'll tell you what we did, but there are multiple options. What would you do? Yes, sir.
Maybe check if there has been a change in the view, and take lunch or the activities.
The school doesn't serve lunch. The children bring their own lunch. But that's a good point. So if this was a situation where school was serving lunch, is there too much Maggi? You know, what is happening to cause these headaches? And it's, you know, happening after lunch break.
I'll share. So for me, if I get that kind of data,
Yes.
I would want to make a decision. Probably, do they play immediately after eating?
Yes, everybody does.
And so maybe make a decision like after eating, let's spend 10 minutes before we go out for break. Or
What
before
are
we
we
play.
going to do with 10 minutes?
Exactly.
When we're eating, we're all ready.
Yes, because most times children just jump out after eating.
Yes.
Right? And it's normal, but we can change that pattern.
So, investigate
Yeah.
is what she's trying to say. Investigate the source of the concern. What is going on? Yes, sir.
Maybe I also want to, talk to health experts. Like, okay, we are experiencing this. What do you think?
So maybe she should consult with the school doctor, somebody
Yes.
else. Because this is the nurse that brought it to our attention.
Yes. So,
Anybody, the pediatrician, talk to somebody. Okay, there are 5 options. Yes.
We could just try to assess what the weather is like on the days when we
Weather.
come in.
What's the weather like?
is like.
What has the weather been like? What was the weather like on those days? Was such an increase? So now I'll tell you what we did. We did notice that yes, the weather was hot. And so she would first make them drink water. And you can see most of the light-skinned children will come out red because it was really hot and drained. And so what we did was we adjusted break time because this was not happening all the time. It was after lunch break. That's hot 12 o'clock sun. And so what we did was adjust playtime to say the children will come in 5 minutes earlier. So let them play. And that 5 minutes was supposed to be come in, drink water, sit down, deep breaths, relax,
That's what she was saying.
calm down before you jump into a lesson. Because if I don't like this lesson, I'm tired. Very true. But if there's been an opportunity for us to calm down, breathe, relax, we don't leave all the lights on like this, we make the atmosphere cool and calm, and we can wash our faces with water, something. And it crashed the number of children going to the nurse. So, making data-informed or data-driven decisions. Don't just change something happening in your school just because. That is the formative use of data in a non-academic context. So when we think of formative assessment, I want us to shift our perspective from, oh, this is only about tests. No. It is about the way we use all the data we collect in school. What is the data saying, or what are the data saying? And how are we going to adjust? What decisions are we going to make based on the data? Next slide. Peter Drucker, management guru, says you cannot manage what you don't measure. If the nurse was not managing well-being and being mindful of well-being, we won't measure student satisfaction, we will not be able to measure the learning environment. How comfortable our students are in that environment. If we go to the academic context, if you don't measure how well your students are performing in the mental maths test, for example, ideally, you should be able to determine which subjects in maths they don't quite know from those mental maths tests. Because mental maths gives you an overview, right?
Yes.
Quick, rapid fire questions on multiple topics. So if you look at those mental maths tests you're giving out every single week, especially in primary, every week, mental math test. In secondary, they do the test at the end, sometimes 2 weeks. You know, once you finish a topic, there's a test. But if we go back, you know, from late, whatever data we're collecting, what is the data telling us? What exactly? What are we measuring? Are we checking speed and accuracy? Not just speed, because we should be checking accuracy as well. So, of the topics in this, what's that mental math test? Schofield and Sims uses 2 test 4. In the topics listed, of the questions listed, which topic did we see 80% of the class miss? Which topic did 100% of the class miss? Which question? You know, and what do we do about it? How does that influence what we teach in our core maths lesson? That's the formative use of data. So don't think of formative assessment as the formative use of tests. Shift away from that. How do we use all the data we collect? How do we analyze the data to make informed decisions? Those of us who are in charge, the adults in the room. Next slide. It also then translates to how the children do this data analysis. So if I were to come to you and I say, I want toast and eggs. I want toast bread, right? Eggs. Which of these slices would you give me? They're all toast, by the way.
Yes.
Even this first one went
Yes.
into the toaster and came out.
Yes.
So which would you give me? I want toast on eggs, please.
The middle one.
Pardon?
Your preferred taste first.
You need to get your preferred taste first.
Why?
How do you know what I mean by toast? They're all toast. What kind of toast do I like? That's when the toast will be meaningful to me. By the way, I like the burnt one. Just so we're aware. So meaningful feedback, it has to be clear and specific. What exactly does good mean? And what does it look like? So when you mark my work, you know that long tick that from beginning to end of the page, and write good and put the date or see. What exactly does that mean? What was good about it? And what do I need to do to reach your expectations? So you have to clarify your expectations, your success criteria, and then I need to know what I need to do to achieve the set objectives. What does good look like? What does it mean? So when you tell me to give you toast, what? What toast? Lightly toasted, average, regular toast, or burnt toast? What do you want? Too many times we tell our children, creative writing. They're going to write a story about Mansa Musa. Oh yeah, right. Oh, best one. You're going to write about your last summer holiday. Recount. All of you come to school. They ask you to write about your summer holiday. Horrible, boring task. Nobody tells you what aspect of the holiday. Nobody gives you the rubric that they're going to use to assess your work. They just tell you to write about your summer holiday. Please let us stop giving those children. So, what I like to do, when I was still in class, when I was teaching, so first lesson, not even, I taught primary most of my teaching career. So at the time, and most of that was year 6. So my first lesson, they come to school, first day of school, they see a letter on the board. I just tell them, oh, welcome, choose a seat. And I don't say anything. just to choose a seat, read the letter on the board. And so the way it is now, piece of paper, pen, whatever, but they're supposed to come to school with pen. So I put those exam rules sheets, I put on the table. Like, read the letter, please write me a reply. Now the letter is well curated. First paragraph, I introduce myself. Second paragraph, what I like, what I don't like. Third paragraph, expectations. And nice to meet you, and something fun, at the end. Well structured. So there's the sample of level 5 writing. Then I tell them to reply. I can never forget one particular student. Her name is Tiwa. Her reply was almost better than my letter. Complex sentences, well written, responded in like manner, as in she followed the paragraphic. Outstanding. So I already knew who my advanced writer was without saying assessment that I'm going to use formative. When your mindset is set like this, where I use the data around to make decisions, you assess all the time. You measure all the time. And you set your children to improve. It becomes continuous as part of your nature. Some of those children wrote like two sentences to show that they could paragraph. Two, the end.
Yes, the end.
They answered me, my name is this, nice to meet you. I like this, so I like that. Okay. And I think one even put cheers. So I knew my level 2 writers. So I had writing levels from 2 to 5. 1. I already had that information. I didn't say a word of we're going to test. We're going to write. Nobody was under pressure. They were relaxed. So they demonstrated their true abilities. What they would do without pressure. Just default. So we need to move away from assessment as test. No, we have too much data that we are not using to make decisions. And that's the shift we need. I remember talking about clear success criteria, right? So you can't measure what you have not said. You can't measure the kind of toast I want when you don't know what I want, right? Okay, next slide. So it's important to have that, you can't see the top. It says clear success criteria. That's what it says at the top there.
You can move that. You can actually move that down. Or you can just shift that thing down. It's movable. Or you will hide it.
Can we hide the bar? Okay.
What's the bar?
Hide the yellow panel.
Yes. Okay. It's refused to be.
It's all right. It just says clear success criteria. In order to, what clear success criteria does for you is it will help you ensure that everybody in your class knows the pass mark. The expectations are clear. So when I would tell my students nobody fails in my class, I remember one Lebanese girl going, huh? So I already knew the person who thought she was not going to pass. I said, nobody fails in my class, 0. And she improved. Because from day 1, the success criteria was clear. Everybody passes my class. Because we all work hard. I work hard, you work hard. Nobody dies from hard work, we all succeed.
Yes.
High expectations set from the beginning. As she moves up to the challenge. So too many times we, again, look at hard data and label them high achievers, middle achievers, low achievers. You guys are at the bottom of the food chain. Yeah. That's where you are, and I just need to, herd you along. When you have clear success criteria, even when something is really hard, you provide the small steps that I need to climb to get to the final bus stop. I decided to focus on success criteria, just thinking about the whole session, and I thought, sometimes this is the problem. You told me to write about summer holiday. What does a good essay look like? I don't know. And then what do I need to know to be able to then do that final piece of writing? What are the little things I need to know? Punctuation, you said paragraphing, context, structure. I need to know those things, the writing conventions, so that by the time I'm writing the full essay, it is a good one. That is your success criteria. Those little things, the steps. Clear success criteria will help you check that your students are thinking by themselves. We keep saying, oh, we want to raise independent thinkers. We want our students to be independent of us, right? And not dependent on lesson teachers and things, so that when they are in an exam setting, they are not under pressure. How do we get them there? They need to know what good looks like. Next slide. So, ineffective success criteria. I personally like to write my learning objectives as questions because it stimulates thought more than just getting your children to sit. Today we are learning how to write an argumentative essay. Full screen, please, if you don't mind. And so they sit. The LO is to learn how to write an argumentative essay. But when I phrase it as a question, how can I write an argumentative essay? I am inviting student agents. I'm inviting my students to give me feedback. Yes, automatically, just phrasing my LO as a question. So, and then usually the success criteria is all students will be able to write an argumentative essay. Some will be able to use complex sentences. What does that mean? So, these are examples of ineffective success criteria. Next slide, I'll show you some examples of how I have rephrased the success criteria, and I'll give you a minute to read through them and give me some feedback. When you're ready, share your thoughts. If you're online as well, when you're ready, share your thoughts. We'll read the comments. Comments, questions? Yes.
Can you just go back to, I want to.
Okay, she wants to go back to the ineffective success criteria. This is, I just repeated the LO, which is what I see a lot. A lot of people repeat the LO as success criteria, and worst case they will write almost of what they just repeated it.
Yeah.
So, I will do this. You said this is what we're going to do, I'm going to do it. Okay. Okay.
So I like the fact that the success criteria examples, I love that it's using those active verbs. List, populate.
Do this.
Yes.
First.
So there's an action.
Do this, but next. Do this next. That's how you will hit the yellow. Okay?
And I like that it also cascading. So in the Bloom's taxonomy, I can say remember, I can see analysis, I can see. So it's they're doing so many skills.
But it's important instead of just it's a higher order.
I like review.
So I'm hearing it's high order thinking. Somebody said it's a guide.
Yeah.
So for me, I love the way instructions are clear, concise, and specific.
Clear, concise, specific. So without the teacher being the sage on the stage, now breaking down how we should write an argument, I put this on the board and I invite my students in their collaborative working groups. Can you read this and think about what we're going to do today? 3 minutes. Think about what we're going to do today and talk about it. You have 3 minutes. Go. okay, but I don't know how to, okay, I can't remember the writing conventions. Who remembers the writing conventions? What are they? Okay, that's one question we're going to ask Mrs. Isa. Write it down. What's the writing convention? So I've already invited them to take ownership of the process. At the end of this process, maybe we've had a lesson, we watched a video, we did a writing sample. If I ask them to assess their work, can they assess themselves?
Yes. Absolutely.
They will check, did I list two sides of the argument? Do I have points for, points against? Have I used my writing conventions? Have I planned my opening and closing statements? Yes, ma'am.
For me, I see success criteria as an extension of the normal explanation or guide you give your children, students, before the class.
It is the written explanation of what you are saying.
Yes. Yeah.
In steps.
Even expectations.
Clear steps, clear expectations. And it matches the thing, success criteria.
It's so successful.
They're supposed to succeed.
Yes.
And this is what success looks like. Too many times I have to say, sometimes we set the children up to fail.
Yes.
Not intentionally. Because that's how we're taught to teach.
Sometimes intentionally, Dr. Isa. We were just talking about it. You cannot.
Those are our wicked university professors.
You can. I said, we need say first.
This is online. I almost said my professor's name. Catch it quickly. So Dr. So-and-so in University of Jos, my first degree is from Uni Jos. Some of you in this class, marginally, but I don't see more than 70% in this class making it beyond from day one. And that's how it's done, very slowly, very condescending.
Yeah.
So there's no need to try. That's the problem. My personal example, I remember, so my younger brother, my younger sister came first every day, every term, every year, whole of primary and secondary school. And me, the senior, ask me my position. In fact, we'll find out the people online, type my position like It was interesting, to say the least. I mean, like, how do you compete with first position consistently? Whether they're sick or not. It was crazy. So I felt very stupid. It just, by my environment, I did not feel intelligent. And I remember going to said university, first term, I was in the first class because I had like A's and a D in that guy's course. And I thought, nah, can't be joy. It's too easy. That's why my GP was 3 point whatever, 4 point something. I thought, no, they're just students, that's why. Why did I get there? Why was I there? I remember, so I used to come 17, 20 something, to just around. Once I thought to try and I came fourth. And I was very impressed with myself and I thought, wow, this is possible. So I proudly went home and I presented my report to my dad. And while he didn't say anything verbal, you know communication is 58% non-verbal.
Yes.
The look on his face.
Well, that's not very good.
And then he looked at the result and he just walked out and left the house.
Wow.
I didn't try again. That was the day I stopped trying in school. That day. I remember it very, very clearly. I did not try anywhere. And so fast forward, uni, I was just like, this can't be right. Can't be Joy's results. Never. So I go to class when I feel like if I don't, because there was no need to try.
Yeah.
Now imagine if I was my own teacher, when the first thing I said is, nobody fails in my class.
Honestly.
I would be like, yeah,
Fuel.
okay,
Let's do this.
So, which teacher are you? Are you the Mr. Isa that will say, nobody feels in my class? You can move. Are you the Mr. Isa who will clarify the success criteria so you know what success looks and feels like? Eventually, I graduated on a 2.2. When I saw my GPA, it was like 3.35 or something, just small, to be a 2.1, right? Did I know? Did I care? Couldn't be bothered. Now I went on to do my master's degree. Of course, American University, straight A's, 4.0 GPA. I was like, because I wasn't planning to get A's. I understood the success criteria, and I planned to meet the success criteria, and I met the success criteria. So I foolishly went to my dad to show him. You know, maybe that is, again, I still went. I had not learned my lesson. So I was like, oh, look, so I graduated, and because you can tell somebody you graduated. Why must you tell them that who cares about GPA post first degree? Nobody, right? But I just said, still, in my transcript, my GPA is 4.0. I said, hey, is that out? I said, no, 4.0 out of 4.0. The Americans don't do a 5-point system, they do a 4-point system. Yeah, wow, okay. What was that subject? What did you study again? Maybe it was just nail painting. That's why I got that's what I told myself, Joy, you are a grown woman. You do not need validation from anyone. Come on, get over yourself, girl. What is this? So, and I tell students my story all the time, say, don't wait for any teacher to tell you you're good enough. But the power teachers have to inspire children is outstanding. We have, I can't remember what the research, I think the research says the child themselves brings in 50%. So if I don't want to be here, I'm not interested, 50% chance of not succeeding. Then the next most important factor is the teacher, 30%. So the other factors divide the rest 20. Parents, environment, friendships, and all divide 20. You alone, 30%. So curriculum, all that, those things are important. But if you, the practitioner, don't know how to use data to make informed decisions, don't know how to be the motivational speaker and the drama queen and all that, like she said, where's Joy? What happens to her? And you have many joys in your classrooms.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So we need to ensure that we help them, we clarify, the success criteria. They know the steps. If you look at that partitioning method, when I learned about it because I had to teach. And I thought, oh, that's such a great method. And I use it all the time if I want to multiply something, like you want to do 24 times 72. You do, 4 times 2, you do 20 and add it. Great. You can do that with addition. Just little things, little strategies that help and support our children. Next slide. So, when you have your clear success criteria, you can see, it just helps you understand what the children, remember what I said about the letter I wrote to the children. Yes. From that reply, I could see what they knew. I could determine their writing levels, their use of punctuation, use of sentence structure. I could check prior learning without saying, when we do the lesson plan, not prior learning. I achieved key vocabulary. I did everything in one task because it was well thought through. So our challenge is, how much time do we spend, again, analyzing the data so we plan well? Because there's no point planning 30 questions. Give them 3 juicy questions that will check high order thinking that encompasses everything. Work smarter and not harder. This is my personal mantra. I believe in working smarter and not harder. You don't need to do a million things. You don't need to mark because you go 1 to 50.
Yes.
I can give you 5 questions. I've assessed all those topics in good word problems. And then another thing, I know I'm digressing a bit, but another thing, even when we give them those multiple choice questions, can they explain why the answer is not A, B?
Yes.
So you pick C, correct? Why is it not A, B, or D? That shows deep levels of conceptual understanding of the topic. Because you know how it is with multiple choice. They know, they kind of predict where you make the mistake and land on a certain answer and put that answer as an option. The master guesser. You just estimate it should be. I don't know why I picked the answer. I just picked it. It just looked right.
Yes.
So this correction that we say we're correcting work. And we put the answers on the board. They switch books. Tick, 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 tick.
Finish.
Done. Why was the answer not B? Toyin still doesn't know. Tomorrow, she will still guess. And Ms. Isa believes she has taught Toyin to be a great A-star student. Yeah. So again, why are we doing what we're doing? How are we using assessments? We rush to do the next mental math test, the next spelling quiz, the next. How are we using what we have? How are we checking? If I jump to spelling test, I know, who teaches secondary here? Anybody? Secondary, grades, anybody else? I'll give you some examples. If I go to spelling in primary for a minute, anybody online teaching secondary, let us know. So I changed the way I was giving out spelling words, again to promote this high order thinking. So 10 words from whatever spelling word list, whatever spelling rule I'm trying to teach for the week. Then the other 20 words I would split across subject areas, just to promote cross-curricular connections and things, so they remember the spelling of photosynthesis, they remember all those big words, great. So to demonstrate their understanding of the spelling words, the application of the rule and all, I would say for your homework, don't just look up the meanings and write the meaning for me. Mundane task. I want you to use the words in meaningful sentences. Yes, 6. I must see at least 2 words per sentence, minimum. You can go to 3 words in each sentence, that's fine. But you need to use all the words in meaningful sentences. And so that was the stretch and challenge. Tick, tick, tick. As we progressed, I changed it to, I want to see 3 paragraphs. They don't have to be connected. So you can say your paragraph 1, all the sentences that, all the words that connect to form a sort of story, a narrative, pull them together in meaningful paragraphs. I want to see at least 3. Sometimes some students, like I tried this, I could only do 2 paragraphs, then I use the rest in maybe 1 sentence. No problem, that's fine. So that became, the challenge. Oh, I will do. And this was open. So remember that Lebanese girl that I told you, she was like, huh? I said, if I see all, minimum 2 words per sentence. Stretch, push yourself. You can do 3. Oh, okay, I'll try. Because the idea is nobody fails. What success would look like for her was very clear. What success would look like for those ones that like to write textbook for me was also very clear. On this particular day, when I was marking and all, I just noticed, because I've noticed this girl, Jade, in class, brilliant writer, very silent participant in class. I suspect she's on some spectrum of the other. Brilliant girl. She still called me about getting a job. We are still in touch till today. I'm talking. I think was she a year younger than my son? school. My son has graduated now, is working. This girl, up to secondary school, university, will still tell her mom she wants to talk to Miss Isa, followed me on LinkedIn. What happened? I just noticed her. And maybe because of my own background and my own trauma, it's easy for me to support and help people. So I just noticed, I'm like, Jane, I wonder if you could put these words in a story. She's like, you know, she won't talk. She can, very astute, but she doesn't waste her words. if I cannot to communicate, she will not. So she just said, I was like, okay. The story that came back the next day. If it was today, I would have said ChatGPT. But there was no ChatGPT at the time. I could not believe my eyes. Her mother came to school and said, Mrs. I read homework. What did you ask them to do? I said, I didn't ask. I just said she should try if she wants. It's not her. She never did not write a story from that day. As in some crazy words. How she will pull them together. Up to, you know, in our class today, Ms. Isa asked us to make, create a story with spelling words. It was challenging for me to include maybe xenophobia and this, because there was no connection. I said, outstanding. And she used every word in the right context. I'm saying this because I don't want us to then get fixated with success criteria being a fixed list. You can differentiate success criteria, which is what I just explained.
Yes.
2 words per sentence, 3 words per sentence, paragraph, story. Only one other person rose to the challenge to say, I meet our right story. Can't believe it. I know why he did it. Because she woke up. That writing made her wake up. All of a sudden, she surpassed the boy who was the best, he was even head boy at the time, in maths. The boy wrote me a letter. Dear Mrs. Isa, I want to apologize for that abysmal result. That's what he wrote. That he promises me he will never fail maths again. He did not fail. One person passed him full letter to apologize to me for disgracing my expectation, which I did not know I had. I was like, oh wow. So they came to drop him off, the next morning, and he was just like this. Sat down in class, didn't talk to anybody. So I told his mom, I was like, did he show you? He sent me a letter. And she's like, I saw it. I was like, yeah, interesting. And she was just like, that boy? Nobody, like we say in Nigeria, smells his dust from that day. He rose to challenge. So he was the one who said, I need to be right story. So his sometimes would be like a big story and then maybe a paragraph at the bottom because he couldn't quite weave the tale, but he was outstanding. So that's the impact of success criteria. It contributes to attaining the high success rate. Your children know what they need to do to get there. Next slide, sorry, I changed it here. Okay. These are just 12 broad principles of formative assessment I thought I would share. And again, you see, I didn't start from this, right? Success criteria. How we think about data. Those are the 2 most important things. What are we doing with the data we have? Are we using that data formatively? Using it to make informed decisions? And then what does good look like? Okay, so formative assessment has to be process embedded. So that means we don't just collect the spelling test scores for fun. We do something with that information. So Mrs. Isa has differentiated the spelling and all, but are the children succeeding? Are they passing? Are they spelling the words correctly? And we also check that. So when we now give them the spelling test, on Fridays when we call out the words, we read an entire story and leave the words blank spaces. We changed the way we gave the test. So you put it in a story and just read it out. And so, when you get to the spelling word, you stop and give them time to spell the word.
Yes.
Brilliant strategy. By the way, a lot of these things are online. You just need to adapt the text a bit to fitting your key words, but the templates are there. What do you call the closed procedures, right? Filling the blank spaces, yes. And you can make up sentences, so you don't have to tell an entire story. The process that plants use to generate food is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. You just keep going, making it more interesting, engaging. This one, I'm not going to unpack all of them. If you have a question about any, I can explain, but this one, intentional evidence gathering from multiple sources. Intentional evidence gathering. Don't just give random spelling words. We don't just collate the data from the nurse because of inspectors. Yeah, that's why we do it now. The nurse keeps the checkbook. So when the inspectors come, we kept records. We're intentional about the kind of evidence we're gathering. It's not random. We're very deliberate. We're intentional about students using each other as resources. Remember what I said about the success criteria? So you put that on the board and you give the children time to talk about it. I said that, yeah, for about 3 minutes. They're supporting each other. Then I no longer become the owner of all things learning. Ms. Lisa knows to say it. It's not correct. I know. Then the children, they build that agency, that understanding of I'm valuable. I can make a difference. And they support each other. Flexibility. 2 words, 3 words, paragraph, full story. We're flexible. What is the desired outcome? That they can spell the words. Are they spelling the words? Yes. Am I making the learning more engaging, more interactive, more meaningful? Yes. So when you now have to mark whatever it is they've done, you can't just put a tick. Because of the way you've taught the lesson, the way you set it up. From the success criteria, you can automatically write out what went well. Yes. Automatically. And the next learning steps. Yes. From that same success criteria. So when you're developing your rubrics, for example, which another word for success criteria, when you're developing your rubric or your marking scheme, the children can redirect themselves. They can support each other. You are involving them in the learning and assessment. It's clear. And you can meet the students where they are at because you've got that baseline data. So instead of, okay, we're going to do a test to check baseline data. Make it fun. And still collect your baseline data so you know where they're at. And from there, we know where they need to go. Next slide. Sample rubrics. So this particular one is a rubric for teamwork. And again, I'm entering non-academic areas because we're very good with academics. Exam board has already given us marking scheme. Yeah, for all the year 6, year 2, year 6, no, reception, year 2, year 6, year 9, year 11. We have rubrics. We have mark schemes. In fact, in the old SATs, every year, yeah, they're there. But we're supposed to report on the pastoral aspects of learning. Whether they can get along, whether they collaborate. We're supposed to be reporting in their reports. You write on participation, whether they submit a homework on time, your report comments. How do you ensure that the comments are authentic? They're valid. It's valid data. Use a rubric. So this is a teamwork one that you can even use as middle leaders to assess your team members. When you put your children in groups, they can use it to assess themselves as group members. So responsibility. Frequently fail to complete tasks on time. 0 or 1. Maximum point. For them to be superior, somebody needs to be let in on Zoom.
Okay.
For them to be superior, to get 4 out for responsibility, exceeding our expectations on timely completion of tasks and follow-up. Was responsible and completed most tasks on time. Clear. Quality of work. You get a 2 if quality of work sometimes fails to meet our expectations. The only way you can get a 4, quality of work frequently exceeded. So that you met the expectations, you're on 3. We're not impressed. Your meeting expectations is 3 out of 4. But where your quality is like, wow, easy, 4. Cooperation, because this is teamwork, right? Group work. So this is like a big version of your group presentation. You put them to do a project together. Cooperation, uncooperative or unwilling to listen to and support others to achieve goals, 0 or 1. Cooperative but occasionally unwilling to, this should be listen to or support colleagues. Consistently listened to others' ideas and worked cooperatively to achieve goals. Consistently listened to others, willing to sacrifice personal interest to achieve our goals. To be able to tick this, it means when they're doing group discussions, you are listening. You're observing. So you're walking around the class, paying attention, and then you can assess this. And you can see that they can map themselves. They know who listened, who didn't. Oh. Leadership, etc. And the overall assessment, I don't want to work with this team member. And so imagine if that child you're referring to in your class, imagine if you give the other children or her team members this to fill, and she sees why she's getting 0. She now understands what exactly she's doing that is making her earn 0, and she knows her next learning steps. Very clear. That's okay. Now she knows what she needs to do. The ball is in her court, so she can get. For leadership, was a positive force. Were you a positive force? Did you help them move forward? What was your attitude and your disposition? So sometimes that part of the report, where we have to assess attitude and things can be a bit nebulous. Create a rubric for it. Create a rubric. And then you standardize across the department, across the maybe year group, across the school. And then the parents can look at it. So when Joy's mother comes, why did you say Joy is? Joy, why do you think you scored the child more? Explain. That's the goal. We set assessments about the children. So the children need to know what they're doing well and what they need to do to improve. And it is a continuous process. It doesn't end. Next one. Okay, sample rubric for foundation stage. How would you use this rubric? By the way, you do not need a numerical scale. You must not be 8 over 8. It doesn't have to be. They're young kids. But we know our Nigerian parents want to see score. No problem, this is the score. It's out of 8.
They want to see the number.
So in order to get 8 out of 8, your use of lines. Scribbles lines with no direction, without breaking, they just do like this. On the page. 1. Okay. Another 1. For use of lines. So this is like a rubric for maybe you're drawing people, things like that, yeah? And occasionally puts lines together to form figures. 2. Or you can call it, so for those who want the numbers, they're there. For the others, the terms at the top. So Joy is an emerging writer. Because she occasionally puts lines together, she can draw a face with arms and legs. She's an emerging person. She's progressing or developing when she uses 2 or 3 kinds of lines to form figures and pictures. She draws stick people with arms and legs. Have you seen those stick people that is just head?
Yes.
The hands and legs to the head.
Yes.
For well-developed or exceeding, Joy uses different kinds of lines in creating pictures. Squiggly line, circle line, straight line, different kinds of lines. And she draws stick people with arms and legs and several details like hair and clothes. That's when she's exceeding, developing, or she gets her 8 out of 8. So it's a fair assessment. It's not fair. 3 over 8. 3 over 10. 3 over 10 on circle and hands and legs.
Exactly.
How? Why is it fair? Why is it good? It has to be clear. When you clarify what success looks like, that is when you can use the assessment formatively. That is when I now know that, okay, Joy's problem is not that she cannot draw. She can use lines. But she's not able to achieve the objective of people. So she'll probably really get 4 over 8. But I know her next learning step. I'm able to clearly show images of people, reinforce that. Maybe we need to use 2D shapes to build people first, or some more. Then she can transition to drawing people. It's very, very clear. Next slide, one more. So that's argumentative essay. The points were too many, so I had to split the rubric up into 2 pages, otherwise you won't be able to read them. So, again, you can put a score if you want. So the main point, right, that argumentative essay that they're supposed to write. Your main point, the essay poorly addresses the topic and includes irrelevant details. 1. And it goes on. Essay is focused, purposeful, and reflects clear insight and idea. 4. Focus or main points. Your supporting evidence, because in an argument you're supposed to point, support, point, evidence, and you go on and on. Organization, little or no organization of ideas to build an argument. No paragraphs, no transition, in addition to, nevertheless, in spite of, nothing like that. She just wrote one long thing. Capital letter at the beginning, comma, full stop in the end. Oh. My son used to write like that. Literally. In his mind at the time, comma was the same as, I paused. Because that's how it was taught. A comma is a pause, right? So when you're talking, you haven't finished the story. When you finish it, full stop. But as you're going along, pause. I have to explain that, Joe. A full stop is a pause. You take a breath. So imagine when you're talking, you have to breathe, right? You don't just talk, and run on. This is an extremely long run-on sentence. Okay, next slide. So this is the rest of that same rubric, right? Language. So your spelling, your span, grammar, and all, 4 points. So everything is clear. Originality. Did you copy from the last movie we watched? Even me, I know the story because I watched the movie too. You know, children, my students used to, they stopped after they figured out I knew what was going on. So we used to have reading books in the class. I read every single reading book in the class. I would take them home, and when I'm eating something, I would read the stories. So I knew all the stories. And I used to watch all the children cartoons. You can't teach children and not be aware of what's going on in their world. So when you ask them to write something, they will write the story for me. And I'm like, no. First of all, you change the ending from this to this. I mean, there's one particular boy, he just could not believe that I read that book. He could not believe that I caught it. I think he used to do it and no one ever knew. I've been getting away with it all through primary school. Now came to this class in year 6, and she's like, yeah, you took that from that book. No. I'm just like, so I just wrote, please rewrite the story. Please rewrite, maybe rewrite in your own words or your own twist to the tale. And he was just so upset that I caught him. But yeah, originality. In this case though, is it creative? Like she said, let's don't just do a list. Be creative. How did you spin the story? And again, you don't mark with good, fair. It's clear. So when you have finished marking and you discover that all your children have a problem here, nobody scored beyond 1 or 2 for this, what are you going to do? Pardon? You know that your grammar lessons for the next couple weeks, your spelling lessons for the next couple weeks need to shift.
Yes.
That is formative use of assessment data. You use the data to inform your planning. You use the data to make informed decisions. That's what it looks like. And it doesn't end. As long as they're in school, you keep going. You keep doing your data analysis and your review, etc., etc. My last thought, one of my favorite comments. If we teach today's children as we taught yesterday's children, what are we doing?
Tomorrow.
They will not be able to think. The way things are happening now, your children must be thinkers. They can't just go with the flow, or they'll do any stupid thing on TikTok. Like now we have 6 or 7 children have died from subway surfing. So they jump on the train. It started in South Africa many years ago. Those South African kids were jumping on the train. But that overland train does not go as fast as the subway. So they'll get on the subway, climb to the roof, and be surfing. Like you're surfing away. Yes. And you need to be able to go back down quickly before it goes on the ground. As at 2 days ago, 6 children already dead. And it was just a TikTok, challenge.
That's
Which is why I think those of us adults, we should be careful with the TikTok challenges because you can choose. They don't choose.
They don't.
Their risk
Yes.
function is not complete. Until age 25. The scientists have said it, yeah.
Honestly.
Until age 25, the portion of your brain, frontal lobe, responsible for making those decisions, you are not cooked. Has not cooked finish. But their emotions are charged, so it's very exciting and they just want to boom. So we can't afford to do it. So I hope I have convinced you.